Luka Magic proved to be more powerful than Orlando's as the Dallas Mavericks destroy the Orlando Magic tonight to get the win at home at the AAC. Bobby, all that and more coming up next here on the Dlls Mavs postgame show. Here we go. Hey, what's up, DLS Mavs Nation? It's your man, Kevin Gray, alongside Mavericks analyst Bobby Carella. We are DLS Mavs, your favorite guys covering your favorite team every single night at Kevin Gray Sports, at Bobby Carella. You can always dial up the Stein line for our national NBA insider, Marc Stein, at the Stein line, and you hit up our Mavericks beat writer, Tim Cato, at Tim_Cato. Both of them will be joining us here on the DLS Mavs postgame show. The Mavericks destroy the Orlando Magic tonight, 108-85 in a bounce-back performance. Luka Doncic setting the tone, dominating in the first half with 25 points, and the rest of the crew took care of business as they get the win tonight over Orlando. So much to get to on our post-game show. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to DLS Sports here on YouTube. Let us know how you're feeling about the Mavericks win tonight as we go through how the Mavericks were able to get it done, Bobby, in what was a dominant first half performance for this team, setting a tone on both ends of the floor that was able to put away Orlando early on in this game tonight.
Yeah, well, first off, Kevin, it's good to be back. So I missed Friday's show.
Welcome back.
Y'all replaced me with Marc Follow. Quite an upgrade, if I do say so myself. And then I missed the pregame show tonight because I had some other stuff going on. So I just want to make sure, was there any show lore that I missed out on? Like, has anything changed since I've been gone?
Nope.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
I think you're good here. Yeah.
That's good to know.
Good to have you back.
Secondly, my God, how much better this game was than the atrocities that we had to witness on Thursday night. Mavs came out, played with energy. They played like they wanted to fight. They played like they thought they were the better team. They played like they thought they should win. And they did. And it was great basketball. And that warrants a victory crack open. I gotta find a new.
You
name.
gotta find a new name to brand that. Little ASMR action from Bobby here on the DLS Mavs.
Crack? I don't know about.
Well, actually, Tanner, there you go. There's your clip for tonight. You're welcome. As the Dallas Mavericks used what was a dominant performance from Luka Doncic, 32 points in the game. One of not only 4 guys in double figures tonight, including Daniel Gafford. Strong game for him. 9 of 13 from the field. 18 points in this game as Kyrie Irving chipped in with 17 points. Dereck Lively had himself a night as well, going 5 of 7 from the field. 11 points was a plus 25 for your Dallas Mavericks tonight. They used a couple of big runs in this game, which we'll get to in our next segment when it comes to the turning point of this game. But Bobby, the Mavericks go as their MVP candidate Luka Doncic goes, and you look at his first half numbers. Luka Doncic in that first half, 9 of 15 from the field, 5 of 10 from downtown, 25 points in that first half. He was the one coming out looking for his shot early on. And offensively, we've been talking about this team getting off to better starts in these games. The Magic, who were shorthanded, without Paolo Banchero, they lost Wendell Carter, who didn't play in the second half of this game due to a foot injury. The Mavericks were able to dominate offensively. Luka Doncic was the reason why, getting the team off to a good start tonight.
Yeah, so Luka had a really big fourth quarter the other night against Houston and said, I had kind of maybe started feeling like myself a little bit. Maybe I found something or whatever. And it was like, okay, you have my interest. And he came out in the first half and was just awesome tonight, like you said, which is important, man, because he's been, obviously his percentages have been down across the board this year, but you think of some of his biggest moments of the season. Second half against Phoenix, he was good. That late shot against the Wolves, he was good. The fourth quarter against the Rockets, he was really good. But in the first half, coming into this game, oh no, this is even including this game. Wow. So including tonight's performance, Luka is just 39% from the floor in the first half and 23% from 3 in the first half. And that includes tonight. So he has not really been able to get off to good starts offensively. And he's going to get his no matter what. You're going to look up at the end of the game. He's going to have 30 points and 7 assists and 8 rebounds or whatever, and it's going to be okay. And he will eventually, rediscover his rhythm. But the Mavs as a team have not gotten off to good starts. It seems in the first quarter they're down 5 or 6 or 7 points, and that was the case again tonight before Luka was able to kick it into high gear. And it's just so much easier. It is so much easier to win in this league when you were playing from ahead. And even if you're ahead by 3, like the difference in win percentage league-wide whenever you are ahead after the first quarter versus when you are trailing after the first quarter is vast. And so for Luka to be able to set the tone offensively, all of a sudden maybe you can force defenses to react a little bit. Maybe they're stepping out a little further on him, and so now there's space underneath for Daniel Gafford to get dunks. Or maybe eyes are on him, and so now Clay can leak out in transition. And you can get other things going. So, Luka is the tide that lifts all boats. Whether or not he's making his shots, he's going to be a playmaking god. But whenever he's making his shots, the Mavs become really, 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 really hard to beat, as evidenced by the fact that they were 3-2 with him shooting like garbage for most of the season so far.
That's true, yes. And you look at the first quarter, Luka Doncic is going 5 of 9 from the field, 14 points. Interesting note about the first quarter in tonight's game, Luka Doncic, who of course did not play in the preseason. We've seen slowly his minutes continue to get ramped up in that first quarter. Tonight, Bobby, he played the entirety of the first quarter. All 12 minutes was a +8 in that first quarter, and you saw how he was able to really set the tone offensively, looking for his shot, getting into the mid-range, knocking down a couple of threes. But most importantly, it feels like his legs are getting under him, as evidenced by playing the entirety of the first quarter, which normally he does when it's part of the normal rotations. Luka Doncic is getting back to some of that tonight, and Jason Kidd making sure that he played that entire first quarter there.
Yeah, he had a really good crossover between the legs. I think against Houston, he just looked kind of quick with it. And then tonight, he had that one play. This was in the third quarter, but he put the ball on the floor. Franz Wagner was guarding him. Carter was already out of the game. Obviously, no Paolo. I think Mo might have been the big man, and he was just able to just cruise past Franz, get all the way to the rim and finish. And it was like a very unspectacular play. But that was one of his first layups all season, where he was able to break the defense down, get all the way to the rim, and finish with ease without having to see contact or finish through traffic or whatever. And so, I think hopefully with every passing game, he's just going to look a little more like himself and a little more like himself. And whenever he gets really hot like this at the end of the night, it doesn't really matter that Kyrie only had 17 points. It doesn't really matter that Clay was 4 for 10 and was just sort of okay on offense. Like Luka had 32, Mavs were up 25 at the half. Hey, we can all rest easy, boys.
Yeah, it felt like they were in cruise control after the end of that first half. Shout out to Ronald. I see you in the chat, my guy. I love what Naji did out there tonight. The supporting cast was really good tonight. We're going to talk about them throughout the course of the show, specifically in our third segment, because it was the others tonight that really was able to help out Luka Doncic and really take it to Orlando. We mentioned that no Paolo Banchero tonight. They lost Wendell Carter in the second half due to a foot injury, but the Mavericks were able to take advantage of their size, and a guy that really performed tonight as well, Daniel Gafford, having a big game. He continues to be the starter at center for the Mavericks, and tonight really put it all together in a 9 of 13 performance, was active on the offensive glass as well. He had 4 second chance points in this game. He was really good tonight, and for the Mavericks who continue to utilize that size when they have the opportunities to, Daniel Gafford, who had 4 minutes in that first quarter, had 6 points in those 6 minutes, was really able to get things started, especially for the Mavericks when it came to the offensive and defensive glass in a game where we saw against Houston, the Mavericks got dominated, especially on the offensive glass, by the Rockets. That was not going to be the case tonight by Dallas. They were able to take it to them. 53 rebounds in total, 41 on the defensive glass, 12 offensive rebounds tonight for Dallas to really improve on what they didn't do against Houston on Thursday night.
Yeah, obviously Orlando playing without Paolo. They're missing one guy that's almost 7 feet. Wendell Carter goes down really early in the game. That's their best rim protector. So now all of a sudden it's Mo Wagner and a team in Orlando that's usually just super tall across the board. They had like one guy that was taller than 6'9" out there. You know? And so, hey, Daniel Gafford, Dereck Lively, y'all are by far the 2 tallest people out there. You're by far the 2 best bigs out there. Go beat their ass. And they did. Lively had a double-double off the bench.
It did.
Gafford was incredible in the first quarter. Gafford also had a really, really good first quarter against Minnesota in that game. I think he was 6 for 6 for the game, but had a couple like full court just run right past Rudy, just outrun him the length of the floor. And that kind of stuff can sort of set the tone early in the game. easy dunks. You're feeling good. You're at home. The crowd can get into it. Oftentimes, anecdotally at least, it just feels like whenever Luka gets it going, the big men later get it going because they're going to start double teaming Luka. The Magic were not double teaming Luka at all, but the big men still had it going. So it's just really nice to see that those two can control the game at both ends of the floor, but particularly control the game on offense whenever it's not because Luka or Kyrie are getting double teamed.
Yeah.
Like Lively made another hook shot. Gafford had some putbacks. Gafford even created his own basket to start the third quarter. They ran a post up for him and he scored on a hook shot. Next time they gave it down the floor to him at the free throw line and he turned it over. But hey, I'll take the hook shot. That was fine. Like they're doing a little stuff. They're like creating a little bit, you know, and they're not just thriving off of Luka being double teamed and eating up all that open space. So it's been good to see.
Yeah, you got to be able at times to create your own offense and be able to utilize the opportunities that you have. Shout out to Alex in the chat as well. He says at the end of the day, this team goes as far as Luka can take them. Is true for most teams with their superstars. And again, when you look at how the Mavericks play with Luka, Kyrie, and now the addition of Klay Thompson, they are going to follow suit with what those guys do night in and night out. And if you're going to get these kinds of performances that we're accustomed to seeing from Luka Doncic, the last time he played the Orlando Magic, he had 45 points and 15 assists in a game. Tonight, he loves playing and seeing Jamal Mosley on the other side. And when they were shorthanded as he was, it was his opportunity to really be able to put the pedal to the metal early. And really important as well because the Mavericks play tomorrow night as well with an 8:45 tip-off against Rick Carlisle and the Indiana Pacers. The ability to put this game away early on to be able to get their starters the rest. In fact, all the starters were out by the 7-minute mark of the fourth quarter tonight. Another really important aspect of a game like this, taking out a shorthanded team and getting your starters rest because you're able to handle business in this game against Orlando.
Yeah, especially with the way the Magic play, even with, again, no Paolo and Carter out. Those are their two biggest guys, beefy boys. Paolo's going to bang you down low. They still play hard. Like they're still a grindy team. They're going to muck it up. They're going to get really, really physical. And so if Dallas would have had to sweat this one out down the stretch, you go from fighting in the mud for every single inch, you know, to tomorrow night, a track meet against a team full of NASCAR drivers. I'll figure something else out.
I see what you were doing with the whole Indiana thing. I see what you were doing with the Indiana.
So fast.
They do.
They play so fast. And they give the Mavs a lot of problems, even when the Mavs are rested. And so I can only imagine if Luka and Kyrie had to play 38 minutes tonight, they're running on fumes tomorrow night. I mean, the Mavs are kind of an old team, and Luka's still working his way back into shape. So, you know, you don't want to be huffing and puffing midway through the first quarter against the Pacers. Like you won't be able to keep up with them. So tonight, let me see. 28 minutes for Klay, 28 minutes for PJ, 31 minutes for Luka, fine, I guess. 28 minutes for Kyrie. Nobody else on the team played more than 21 minutes. So, hey, that's awesome. That's really, really good.
Yeah, you handled business the way that you needed to early on to be able to give your guys a chance to rest in this game. Mavericks were able to close the final 4:41 of that first quarter on what was a 16-4 run to take what was a 30-22 lead going into that second quarter. Again, speaking to the sense of urgency, Tim and I were talking about this pregame. Can you get to a point, if you're the Mavericks, where you open up a game and play with that sense of urgency, coming out with energy and intensity? The Rockets were able to do that against them on Thursday. The Mavericks taking their cues from a young, athletic, and hungry Rockets team who set that tone in that game. They were the aggressors. They were the ones with the energy. They were the ones that wanted to make sure that Orlando was being sent a message about what kind of mentality and how they wanted to play this game and the pace at which they wanted to play it with. And the Mavericks, I thought, did a really good job of that and needed to be able to have a bounce-back performance against Orlando tonight.
And that win against Minnesota, which was on the second night of a back-to-back on travel, it was 23 hours after tip-off of the previous game. So it was an even tougher back-to-back, factoring in all those things. The Mavs were the more physical, harder-playing team for almost the entirety of that game. And then they come out against Houston and they do what they did.
Yeah.
But then they responded to that really upsetting, disappointing performance by doing the same thing that they did against the Wolves. They just out-muscled and out-fought the other team and then also out-skilled them, which is great. But that's now 2 of the last 3 games that they've been the harder-playing, more physical team against teams that are known for playing really hard and playing really physically. So that is it makes me very optimistic, you know, moving forward about their prospects and odds of being a team that can do that on any given night. And then also, this is a little maybe copium, but they responded really well after getting punked the other night by Houston. And so, you're going to go through the season. You're going to have some stinkers. You're going to have some tough losses. It's not about how many times you get knocked down on the mat, unless that's like enough to get you out of the top 6. It's about how many times you get up off the mat, and the Mavs are able to come back, from that tough loss and have a really good game.
Yeah, if you're the Mavericks, we've talked about this throughout the course of our time here on this show, which is in the West, you've got to find a way to get off to a good start because you're going to get every team's best punch every single night. The Mavericks found out the hard way on Thursday against the Rockets. They were playing their first Eastern Conference team of the season in Orlando tonight, and they were the ones that were able to play with that sense of urgency and energy because, again, every night you're going to get another team's best shot because they're trying to knock off the champs. In fact, the Rockets broadcast had mentioned that during the game on Thursday that they had knocked off the Western Conference champs in that game. So just knowing that the Mavericks are going to be experiencing that every night, you got to manage the emotions and the physical and mental toll that's going to be this 82-game season to try to get yourself in position to get back to the NBA Finals. But the Mavericks were able to find a really good first half to dominate. The alarm sounding.
We're good.
We're good here. We're good here.
Everything is fine.
That was great.
Oh,
wow.
There was an alarm that went off.
It was an alarm that went off for those.
You got to trust me. It was scary.
It was a little distracting too. But at the same time, the Mavericks got it done by taking out the Magic 108-105. Coming up next year on the DLS Mavs postgame show, what the turning point was in this game. 2 massive runs by the Mavericks put away the Magic early on in the first half to allow the starters to rest comfortably. Plus, Tim Cato and Marc Stein live from the American Airlines Center. All that and more coming up next year on the DLS Mavs postgame show.
First, row back activewear. It's quite simple. It's the best fit, the best feel, and the quality of the gear just speaks for itself. Their performance polos perform even better in the heat than any other polos. I was sweating today. I'm so upset about how hot it is, but it is. These polos are moisture wicking, so the polo doesn't stick to you, and they have such a nice stretch. They also have shorts that you can wear every day. They're the perfect combo for a day on the move. They look clean, but they use the comfort of an elastic waistband, so you can look good and feel good. And one day, it will be hoodie season. One day you might have to wear a sweater. What better item to prepare for those wonderful, magical days than by adding one of their performance hoodies to your closet? They're the softest items they own, and they won't. You won't want to take them off even now in the Dallas heat if you are a hoodie freakazoid, and I know that you're out there watching this if you are. They're both their polos and their hoodies are designed for comfort, and they're built for activity, and they're moisture wicking with breathable fabric. So use the code DLLSMavs20. Again, that's DLLSMavs20 on rowback.com for generous 20% off your first order. That's RHOBACK.com. 20% off all polos, hoodies, and shorts with the code DLLSMavs20. Make sure to check them out, and they'll have you ready for whatever travels or activities you have on the horizon.
Let me talk to you about Sleeper. I'm calling all my ball knowers when it comes to the Sleeper app that you know for hosting the best fantasy football leagues in the game. Now allows you to put your knowledge to the test in every game by picking whether your favorite or least favorite players will have more or less than their projected stats each week. Cowboys lost again to the Falcons, but Dak Prescott, before he got hurt, was able to handle business, at least to get you, I think, what you needed to do for your Sleeper as the bag falls down in the studio. CeeDee Lamb, before he got hurt, everybody got hurt today, was able to do what he needed to do in terms of his receiving yards for the Cowboys. With Sleeper, the more picks you combine, the more you can win, all the way up to 100 times your money. If you think you have what it takes, make sure you download the Sleeper app and use the code DLLSMavs to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Remember, terms and conditions do apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Make sure you check out Sleeper today. I've got over 130 people watching this live stream right now, which means I need 130 likes. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to DLLS Sports here on YouTube for the DLLS Mavs postgame show as the Mavericks find a way to dominate in that first half. 108-85. Luka Doncic, spectacular night with 32 points, a plus 21 on the night, leading the charge as the Mavericks get their first win of this 5-game homestand as they get ready to welcome in the Indiana Pacers and Rick Carlisle into the AAC tomorrow night for a late tip-off at 8:45. Coming up later in our show, Tim Cato and Marc Stein live from the American Airlines Center, so you don't want to miss their insights on what they were able to see into tonight's game. But that gets us, Bobby, to our turning point of tonight's game as the Mavericks clobber the Magic by 23 points. But it was 2 key runs for this team in Dallas that really were able to springboard them to a dominant victory and put away Orlando early on in this game. And we'll start in the first quarter because we talked a lot about how Luka Doncic set the tone for this team. Over the final 4:41 of the first quarter, they used what was a 16-4 run to take a 30-22 lead at the end of the first quarter. And it felt like the Mavericks were able to get settled in, not just behind Luka Doncic and what he was doing, but the activity of their big men as well. And Naji Marshall being able to really help out as well on the defensive end. That first key run really got the Mavericks in position to be able to get into the second quarter and really take care of business from there.
Yeah, Naji's been good lately. He's been really good. You know, first couple games of the season, kind of like PJ Washington, was just sort of like, I mean, he was out there, I guess.
Yeah.
I think he made a 3 yet? I'm not sure about that. But, you know, starting late in that Minnesota game, I thought he also brought the juice against Houston when not many other players did. And then tonight, I thought he was really good too. You know, he's kind of rounding into form. It looks like he's feeling a little more comfortable. You know, with the ball in his hands, he's making plays in the open floor. And also, he was really active on defense. I don't know how many guys off the bench. I can actually look this up, but how many non-guards off the bench for the Mavs have had 5 assists and 5 rebounds in the same game? I'm going to be honest, that number is probably stunningly low. Non-JJ Barea, non-Devin Harris. Like, we're talking like, you know, he had 5 assists on a team playing with Luka and Kyrie when nobody ever gets more than like 2 or 3 assists, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, he was really good. He was really good. And, you know, it was a good example, I thought, of how, you know, this is someone we talked about on the pregame show, I think before the Rockets game, how, you know, ordinarily you think of sixth men or guys coming off the bench as people that can change the dynamic of the game offensively. You know, can you drop in this combo guard and he can get hot, or this microwave shooter and he sees one go in or whatever. But the Mavs' bench guys are mostly, when they're healthy at least, they're mostly defensive-minded players. Grimes, Naji, Lively, guys that are just going to bring energy, make something happen, change the feel of the game on the defensive end. And Naji definitely did that.
He did. And you look at the way the Mavs were able to use and turn defense in the offense. You look at what they were able to do in that first half. The Mavericks had 19 fast break points, outscoring the Magic 19-2 in that category, forcing 8 Magic turnovers in that first half. We know how well the Mavericks are able to protect the ball. They only average a little over 10 turnovers per game. The Magic, top 10 steals team as a team, creating 9 steals per game. The Mavericks were the ones that are able to force the issue on the defensive end and turn that into fast break points. Getting some easy buckets in transition, you've got to be able to do that to be able to generate some offense, and the Mavericks did that extremely well in this game. As we talk about the turning points in this game, we talked about the first one in terms of what happened in the first quarter. The one in the second quarter was sparked by something really interesting that Bobby took notice, and we took notice as far as the game was concerned. Mavs went a 4-guard lineup to start that second quarter with Kyrie Irving, Klay Thompson, Spencer Dinwiddie, and Quentin Grimes alongside Daniel Gafford. And Dereck Lively was the first big to start off that second quarter before they brought Gafford back in. But they were able to spark what would be a 25-6 run in the first 8 minutes of that second quarter to blow the game wide open. They were up 55-20 at that point. But it was interesting that they went to that 4-guard lineup, starting with Lively before Gafford eventually got back into the game. And that really was able to pick up the energy, and they were able to get out and run and do some really nice things in that lineup there.
Yeah, get a lot of stops. You know, that team, or that lineup was very small. One player on the floor taller than like 6'6", or however tall Klay officially is. And ordinarily against a team like Orlando, you'd say, okay, well, they have a bunch of big bullies. But again, the Magic, all of their good bigs were hurt. So they're also playing pretty small. And then some of the bigs, no disrespect, obviously, but some of the bigger players that they were playing were unable to maybe take advantage of, hey, I'm switched onto Dinwiddie right now, or I got Grimes on me. Let me just be bigger and better than him. They weren't able to do that. And so the Mavs were able to switch a lot of stuff pretty freely, keep Orlando on the perimeter for most of the game, if not all of the game, and force them to take a bunch of bad threes. And, you know, it's a team that really struggles with their jumpers regardless, and that's without you know, any dribble penetration. Like, this is just a lot of very stagnant offense. Harp even made a point to mention that in the broadcast at some point. He was like, it really feels like they're just slinging it around the perimeter. Like, it's a lot of aimless stuff. But that's because the Mavs were switching. They didn't have to double. They didn't have to hedge or show or drop or do anything. They were just switching every screen, being unpunished. And if you can cheat that way, it's not cheating. But like if you can do that on defense, then you can cheat by playing a bunch of smaller players and then get out in the open floor and run and just blitz those guys off the floor. I want to close the circle on my stat. So the last non-guard, non-center off the bench for the Mavs to get 5 assists and 5 rebounds in a game. If you count Davis Bertans as one, well, he did it in 2022. Before that, you'd have to go back to the great Kyle Collinsworth in April 2018.
Wow.
So not a lot of wings off the bench do the thing that Naji Marshall just did tonight.
It must be a really good night when you get Kyle Collinsworth's name into the broadcast.
Love Kyle Collinsworth. Really good. Really good.
Really good night.
Really, really nice guy.
More on that second quarter. As we mentioned, the Mavericks started that second quarter in the first 8 minutes on what was a 25-6 run. If you go back to the first quarter, the Mavericks used over what was an 8-minute span from that 4:40 mark to the 8:40 mark of the second quarter. It was a 26-6 run from the 4:40 mark of the first quarter through the 8:40 mark of that second quarter to take what would be a 16-point lead at 40-24. Again, it's a game of runs and 2 massive ones for this team. Really was able to dominate in that first half. The Mavericks wind up shooting 47% from 3 in that first half, 58% overall from the field. In fact, in that second quarter alone, they went 6 of 12 from downtown, shooting 50% overall from 3. Knocking down threes, getting out in transition, and being able to turn your opponent over, that's a recipe for winning basketball, and the Mavericks were able to do that quite well, especially in this first half tonight.
And when Luka was out, it didn't matter if it was during that small ball lineup or in the third quarter whenever he just sat out, and I think Naji came in for him, I want to say, and it was a more conventionally sized lineup for Dallas. That's whenever they were sending Klay off a bunch of screens and having him run around and do some stuff. They even ran like a little double screen action for Naji whenever Luka was in the game. But it really feels like the offense kind of opens up in the sense that like it improves or anything. It's just like the playbook opens up whenever Luka's out of the game. It becomes much more scripted. There's some movement stuff for Klay. There were some possessions where it was like Naji and Lively kind of flipping it back and forth to each other at the elbow, or like kind of like the free throw line extended out on the wings, and Klay was running in between them. They drew a foul doing that. So I don't know, it was just kind of interesting. You know, Klay had another first quarter tonight where he didn't really touch the ball at all. His first shift on the floor was very quiet. But whenever he came back in the game in the second quarter with that as part of that small ball lineup, it really felt like they made a kind of a concerted effort to get him touches, get him on the move, try and get some sort of rhythm going.
Yeah, and even though Klay didn't necessarily have a great shooting night, 4 of 10 from the field, 1 of 5 from 3. Again, Klay Thompson, a veteran in this league, knows how to affect the game when shots aren't necessarily falling. Had 5 rebounds, had 4 assists in this game. Also had 2 block shots in this game as well, did Klay. The defense that he was playing tonight was excellent, was a plus 19 with the 9 points that he had. So again, when shots aren't falling, you've got to find other ways to affect the game. Klay Thompson knows that as a 4-time NBA champion and did so very well in this game in what was a complete effort, especially in the first half for this Dallas team. The others of this game as well were excellent. We have mentioned a little bit throughout the course of the show what Naji Marshall was able to do. Want to dive into specific numbers with him. In the first half, 2 steals, 5 assists, 4 rebounds, a plus 18 in that first half. Ball hawking defense, and of course what was the play, not just of the first half, but pretty much the entirety of the game. Naji turning defense into offense, got a nice steal, and then hit Daniel Gafford for the lob in transition for the dunk at the 2:30 mark of that second quarter that had him up by 26 at 62-36. That was kind of the microcosm of this game. Defense and the offense getting out in transition and playing above the rim. And that was one of the more fun plays, if not the highlight of the night when it came to the Mavericks taking out Orlando tonight.
He threw that lob from half court.
Yeah.
With a lot of confidence.
He did.
And it was not like it's not like big man was down there waiting like, hey, I'm open. Like Gafford was at like the 3-point line when Naji threw that. It was like, just meet me at the rim, buddy. And he did. It was awesome. It was great. Naji has a very, very interesting skill set. You know, he's kind of like Josh Green in the way that he can pass, but it's a little more like Josh was almost like, I'm in this weird spot. I'm just going to make this incredible pass that you could have never
up in the air before he decided what he was going to do with the basketball.
Naji feels like a lot more like intentional with his decision making. He's obviously not the high flyer that Josh is.
Sure.
He's much more ground bound. So I don't think he's going to have a lot of like plays where he scores himself in transition. But it's just really nice to have another guy on the team that can make plays for other people in the open floor or in the half court. And, the more time, I've said this many times, but I'm not sure that him playing with Kyrie and Luka like at the same time is a super good idea, because then he's just sort of relegated to spot up duties. But I think a lineup with Kyrie and Naji, or even Luka and Naji to a degree, but specifically Kyrie and Naji, I think that could have a lot of juice, because Kyrie is so much of a, I'll give it up early and get it back later kind of guy. Mm-hmm. And that plays, I think, really well with, kind of aligns with Naji's strengths.
Can you throw out this comment in the chat, please? Some guy named Tim Cato says that Naji's passing is a lot more functional. I don't know. Do we know who that is?
Tim, why aren't you on? What are you doing?
He's going to come on. Yeah, he's going to add us here.
No, I want to blame Tim. Don't.
And also, throw Ardell's chat up, comment back up real quick.
Ardell, what's up?
He said Gafford won him his fantasy matchup with his field goal percentage bump tonight.
Oh, wow, okay.
So shout out to Daniel Gafford, apparently getting it done for Super Chat Ardell.
I have no idea how basketball fantasy works.
Same here. I've never really played. It was too much for me to keep up with the daily fantasy lineup when it came to the basketball. So shout out to you, Ardell, for managing your team, and shout out to Daniel Gaff for helping.
I do want to say real quick before we go to the next break.
Yeah.
So Jared asks, was I the only one worried about the volume of Orlando wide open threes? We got lucky. They only hit 8 of 41. It's kind of a tricky thing, because part of that is, if you don't believe that a certain player, or in this, in Orlando's case, kind of like the whole team, is not very threatening from deep, then you're willing to concede that. The Mavs in games against teams that have good shooters, or that are generally like team wide are good at shooting, the Mavs try and really run them off the 3-point line. But tonight, I'm cool with not overreacting to a guy being open from 3, selling out, attacking them, because Orlando wants to put the ball on the floor. They want to shot fake into a long 2 or into a cut to the rim, and then guy makes a cut on the 45, and then they do a lot of like that sort of thing. So I'm cool with being a little more game plan specific. Now, if they started the game hot, you'd have to react. Mm-hmm. But the way it went, hey, they started cold, they ended cold, and so I'm cool with it.
Mavericks clobber the Orlando Magic tonight to get the win at home as they get ready to welcome in the Pacers tomorrow night. Coming up next here on the Dlls Mavs postgame show, Tim Cato, our Mavericks beat writer, live from the American Airlines Center, provides us his thoughts and perspective on what he saw tonight between the Mavericks and the Magic. And a little bit later on, our national NBA insider, Marc Stein, he'll join us live from the AAC as well to provide us his thoughts on what he saw in tonight's game and what was a dominant win for your Dallas Mavericks. All that and more coming up next here on the Dlls Mavs postgame show.
I know you like sunglasses. I know you like sunglasses.
I do.
And I know that I like sunglasses, but what I like more is premium polarized shades that won't break the bank from our friends at Shady Rays, an independent sunglasses company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by more than 300,000 people. Their shades have durable frames and crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all outdoor activities. And if you're a clumsy man or person like me, hey, don't worry. They get broken. They get lost. You lose them at the bottom of a lake while you're floating down the river into a lake. They'll replace them for free. You order a pair, you don't like them, you got 30 days to return them worry-free. And they have so many options to choose from, over 100 pairs, including different styles, different shapes, and different colors. And they even have some shades in Mavs blue. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com and use code DLLS for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by more than 300,000 people.
That's a lot of people. And also all those people that listen to the All NBA podcast. If you love the NBA, which I know you do because you're in here watching your favorite DLLS Mavs show here on DLLS Sports, I need you to tune into the All NBA podcast with our guys Adam Mares and the great Tim Legler, our teammate here at the All City Network. They're back for season 2 and more excited than ever to be breaking down the games with a level of detail that you can't get anywhere else. Every show that Legs and Adam break down, the key moments, takeaways, the storylines around the league. They've also added our guy, Marc Stein, as well. He joins the show weekly to share his thoughts and insights behind the scenes around the association. So make sure you tune in live on their YouTube channel, the All NBA Podcast. Again, the All NBA Podcast with new episodes 4 times a week, or you can subscribe and listen wherever you get your podcasts for free. It's a terrific listen. I listen. Adam Mares, Tim Legler, Marc Stein doing their thing on the All NBA Podcast. And they are teammates here at the All City Network. So check out the All NBA.
How
podcast.
cool is it that Tim Legler is like your best friend now?
Tim is dynamite, man. He was great. Love to have him. Tim Legler.
Is he your favorite Tim?
Actually, yeah. Now that you mention it, sorry, Cato.
Boy.
Sorry, McMahon.
Boy.
Sorry.
Wait. Hey, Tim.
Hey. My bad.
That wasn't very
Tim in the
nice.
building. What?
That was not very nice of y'all.
What? I literally didn't say anything at all.
Just saying.
Well, neither of you. This is not defensible.
Tim, you're my favorite Tim. You really are my favorite Tim. You're my teammate every day here. You're my favorite Tim. Okay? You feel better? No?
I feel slightly better. Guys,
Okay,
I'm
good.
going to restart my my camera because I am way behind of y'all. I'll be back in 10 seconds.
Okay. Well, Tim is
right.
quickly diminishing himself on my favorite Tim list after that little
Tim,
number he just pulled.
Who are other people named Tim?
McMahon.
Tim McMahon. Tim Apple.
What?
There's so many other Tims. I just can't think of many right now.
Name your favorite Tim in the chat. I want to know your favorite Tim in the chat. I want to know. Cato's feelings are hurt, says Joe R. Hey, let's try that again.
Okay, we're back. We're back now.
Oh, we're back?
Okay,
Everything's
we're so back.
everything's
We're
where
so
it
back.
should be on the stream. I can hear you guys without a 5-second delay. What do you want to
that's
know
good.
from me?
You're back kind of like Luka Doncic's first quarters are back because he dominated in that first quarter and more so in the second half with 25 first half points. Tim, we talked about this during the pregame show about what the Mavericks would need to do to start off well in this game. It was their superstar tonight that led the charge in taking out Orlando in this game.
I mean, it was the first time that Luka has played all 12 minutes of the first quarter, if I'm not mistaken. Did you guys note that?
Yes, we discussed that a little bit earlier on. We did, yes.
Okay, well, you guys have already said all the smart stuff, so I'll just go cry more. Is there anything new that I can bring to the table now?
That's
Tim,
up to you.
What words does Luka know in German?
He wouldn't say. He said he knows good ones and bad ones, but yes. He was asked by a German reporter about Orlando having 3 different Germans on the court. I should know this. The third one is Da Silva, correct?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. I was like 95% sure that was the case. The other 2 were obviously Jalen Suggs and Cole Anthony.
Yep, obviously. Yep.
But he said that he heard the 3 Germans talking in German, as Germans would do. And he said he joined in because he knows a little German. So I asked him, when did you learn German? And he said he took it in school for 5 years, which is 5 more years of school than I thought that, clearly this is not a Jameis Winston quote situation. I didn't come to college to play school. So he was actually paying attention. He was studying a little bit.
Tim off the top rope with the Jameis Winston slander. Wow, my gosh. You feeling good,
It's not
Tim?
slander. It's a quote of his.
I know it is. I'm joking. I know.
Is he the one that
Yes.
said that? It is a great quote.
There's a lot of
I'm
great
pretty
Jameis
sure.
quotes out there.
Was it him or was it Cardell Jones?
It was Cardell Jones.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I see some love for Tim Duncan in the chat and also Tim Hardaway. I'm
we
assuming
tolerating
junior, maybe senior. I would definitely rank Cato above Tim Senior, no offense. And then Tim Roth. Good Tim.
Okay.
Your response, Tim?
I mean, we're gonna break this down in the Tim group chat that we all have.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna laugh at y'all because we know that being Tims, we're better than all of y'all. So
Wow, jeez. Okay.
I don't know about
Yeah.
being better than
Just
Kevin's,
talks
but
to
that's
Tim
just-
Hardaway Jr. still, I guess. That's fine.
I mean, that's hustling backwards, but we'll leave
well,
that
if you're
in
named Tim,
spirit
you
of
would
that.
understand.
Mm.
Um,
Okay.
You guys want so there's a couple of things I thought were interesting. The centers for sure. The centers being back to, I think it's so fun for the Mavericks, and it's a positive thing, but it's also fun to do. It's fun when you can combine the stat lines of Lively and Gafford and come up with like a mythical all-star center. And tonight, the centers combined for 29 points and 19 rebounds.
Whew.
So whenever they're combining for Wilt Chamberlain numbers, that's a good thing. And I snuck away, and it's caused my my little feed to get all out of whack on my end. But I snuck away to listen to Daniel Gafford. And Daniel was talking about how there are a lot of stuff that he grades himself on that are not scoring. I asked Jason Kidd this as well, because, we look at these centers and we know that to some extent they are extensions of Luka Doncic. They are extensions of the guard play. Tonight, the guards found them a lot, but there's also nights where that's not going to happen. And certainly throughout the start of the season, 6 games in, teams have been taking away the lob dunks. They have been taking away easy pick and roll stuff. And so Daniel Gafford talked about how, to him, a screen assist, he didn't say the exact word, but that's basically what he was talking about, like getting people open on, in screening situations, about offensive rebounds, about doing, the tough, the dirty stuff. Jason Kidd also talked about how there's a lot that they grade and gauge the centers and their performances that isn't just, how many times did you get it set up really well to score, to dunk or to hit a layup? Because, the lack of points from these two centers is not necessarily an indictment, or a lot of points doesn't necessarily mean they have a lot of games, depending on the circumstances. So he thought that, the centers needed to be better. He said that after the Houston game. Tonight, he said that both centers were really good. Jason Kidd said that. And I just thought that was an interesting thing to kind of think about, how their jobs are not as, you can't just rely on the box score for their jobs to kind of grade their jobs, but also it has to be a good thing when they're combining for like better than Wilt Chamberlain numbers.
It does help in terms of not just the offense, but the defensive side and the presence that the both of them are able to bring. Speaking on the defensive presence, Naji Marshall was excellent tonight for the Dallas Mavericks with his energy and effort, especially on the defensive end. How did you feel about Naji Marshall's performance and what he was able to bring the Mavericks for tonight?
Oh, yeah, Naji was great, but I would agree with Sarah that Timothy Oliphant is a elite
Oh,
Tim. Also,
man.
the
I
character
don't know
Tim.
who or what that is.
Timothy Oliphant from the show
He's
Justified.
from Justified, but also the character Tim, I believe his name is Tim Gunnarsson, one of my favorite supporting actor role characters of any TV show I've maybe ever watched.
I don't know what that
If you've not seen the original show Justified,
Justified's great.
Have you seen Justified before? No.
You
need to. That's a fantastic show.
Also, I
Yeah.
like
No,
Jared
I
Sullivan's
don't watch
comment.
TV.
I like Jared Sullivan comments that they missed one Wilt number tonight, combined Wilt number. They did not combine to play 48 minutes.
Well, no, factor in Dwight there. Dwight added
What are you
2 rebounds.
Okay,
so
fine.
20, they went for 20 and 20, and also Dwight blocked 2 shots. So
Okay, Bobby, but Wilt Chamberlain once averaged more than 48 minutes. Tonight, the 3 of them averaged combined for 48 minutes.
these guys,
You guys know
suck.
that, right? It's the craziest stat to maybe ever exist. Wilt Chamberlain once averaged, he never subbed out of a game. And so when factoring in overtimes, he averaged more than 48 minutes for an entire season.
I think that's just really selfish.
That's crazy. I mean, did you know how good
It's
Wilt
quite
Chamberlain-
possibly
that's
the
not
wildest stat to ever exist.
I mean, being his backup must have been a real thankless job.
That's probably the greatest job ever. I get to be Wilt Chamberlain's backup.
You just get
Hell yeah, sign
absolutely
me up for that.
annihilated in practice every day. Like
So
that's
what?
it. That's all you do.
You know
is
what
just
happens?
Get worked every day.
You know what happens when you Wilt Chamberlain's backup? That check cash every 2 weeks.
yeah,
you
this is
better
the 60s.
believe
He was probably making like $50 a game.
you missing the point. He didn't have to do no work for that money that he got. You missing the point here. Okay.
So I have one more thing. I have one more thing that I can jump into, which is, for me right now, the theme of the Mavericks is how defenses are guarding them. That's the thing that's like most intriguing to me, and it's been really consistent. It's interesting. I don't think at any point in the Luka era have teams for like 6 games in a row for this long of a stretch. And look, it's a little bit different night to night based off personnel and in opposing teams, but they've really solidified around a certain type of defense. That's not typical to the Luka era and in my years of watching it. And one thing that Jason Kidd said is that they have to take the layups. And I thought Luka did a better job of that Luka was getting closer, getting further, deeper into the paint. His very first possession, or the second possession of the game, committed a turnover, but he immediately just tried to like bully, post up somebody, right under the rim and probably would have scored if it wasn't poked out from his hands. I thought that was a plus. There was other times that he was willing to get into that floater zone like we talked about on the pregame show. And Jason Kidd just kept saying it. You've got to take the layups. You've got to take the layups. You got to take the layups until you get them out of that defense. The only way to make a team stop playing that way is it's not through jumpers. Like if Luka hitting his jumpers is a positive thing, of course. It's a positive thing for him. It's a positive thing for the team. But for him to start drawing double teams, unless he is truly just on a scorching inferno of a shooting night, it's going to be at the rim. It's going to be by getting points sustainably and efficiently, whether it's him or his big man, through repeated pick and rolls. And then all of a sudden, you really force another team to say, well, we don't want to give Quentin Grimes an open three, and we're not going to try to give him an open three, but we can't allow this parade of rim shots to keep happening. I think Dallas was a little bit better in that area, a little better. I still think there's room for improvement. Offensively, I thought an even bigger difference between, I thought the half-court offense was better, but not as good as it could be. But it was the fast break stuff. Like I think it was like 19-2 or 19-4 at one point. That combined with a slightly better offense, I think is really effective. One last thing that Jason Kidd said, when talking about the lobs and the lack of alley-oops, all that, it's a lot easier to get it in early offense. If you get out and you have that pace, you have that tempo, we keep seeing there's some early offense that Naji or PJ, Naji and PJ have both thrown multiple alley-oop passes this season. And it's almost always been this early, quicker tempo offense that they're able to do. And so I just think that's a real positive for the team. That's why Jason Kidd is emphasizing it so much, because some of the easiest shots, based off the centers they have, are going to become more available to you if you get down the court and get into your offensive sets.
Well, Tim, get you some rest. Late start time tomorrow at 8:45 p.m. as Rick Carlisle and his Indiana Pacers and their race cars come in to the American Airlines Center to take on Luka Doncic and company.
One quick thing.
Mm-hmm.
You can choose one. Tim Curry, Tim Meadows, Tim Robbins.
I think I only know Tim Robbins.
Oh, my God.
I've heard the name Tim Meadows. I'm not sure who Tim Curry is.
Well, we'll let you go look that up. And make sure you check out all
I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that.
AllDLLS.com. Tim,
Bobby is going to text me like a novella of a...
Get out of here, Tim.
Part anger, part knowledge later tonight.
Bye, Tim. Thank you so much for your insight, sir. There he goes. Tim Cato, our Mavericks beat writer here at DLLS Sports. Again, AllDLLS.com. Make sure you check out all of this stuff covering the Dallas Mavericks. Coming up next year on the DLLS MAVS postgame show, we got back out live to the American Airlines Center. We welcome in our national NBA insider, Marc Stein. He provides us all of his news and notes as we dial up the Stein line here on the DLLS MAVS postgame show here in just a moment.
But first, folks, you have to act quickly, because this limited time introductory offer to become a diehard available to you at alldlls.com, it really is limited time. I'm not at liberty to tell you how much time you have left to take advantage of this limited time introductory offer.
So do it now.
But you should do it very, very soon, because the limited time is running out. Here's how it works. You click the link in the description in the video below. You have to click the link in the video description. It will take you to a website on alldls.com where you could become a diehard for $4 a month. Now, what is a diehard? It is what we call our legion, our community of Dallas diehard sports fans of every pro team in town, with more on the way, that are supporting what we do here at DLLS. Here are some of our most recent diehards that signed up this weekend. Shout out to Dean, Josh, Hayden, Catherine, Wesley, Arnie, Jeff, Melvin, Naomi, and Cliff. Shout out to all of y'all becoming diehards over the weekend. Here's what you get in exchange for that $4 a month. You get a free shirt when you sign up, and you get a discount on all future merch purchases. We have over 35 shirt designs. You get to join the diehard only Discord, where you can share positive vibes with me on my bad days, and I can share positive vibes with you on your bad days. And we can all share sports knowledge and terrible pop culture opinions with each other at all hours of the day. Most importantly, you get access to our entire website, including all the written analysis, features, opinions, columns, film breakdowns from all of our writers here at DLLS, covering the Mavs, the Stars, the Rangers, and the Cowboys. Again, with more teams on the way, Wings, FC Dallas starting in the spring whenever their seasons fire up, and more college sports coming soon as well. So go do that. Again, link in the description to go to alldls.com to become a diehard, because, folks, the clock is going to strike midnight very soon, and you don't want to turn into a pumpkin when it does.
alldls.com/diehard. Become a diehard member today. Show off that physical diehard card as well. Tag us on social media, and we'll shout you out as well. Again, alldls.com/diehard. As we finish up here on the DLLS Mavs postgame show, we go back out live to the American Airlines Center, where we dial up the Stein line with our national NBA insider. You can find him on X at the Stein line. He is Marc Stein. Marc, what's going on?
Gents, how are we?
We're good, Marc.
Not as good as that jacket you got on. I don't like what you're doing there.
You think so? I don't feel sharp.
Why not?
But I don't feel sharp, but I'm happy. I'm happy for Bobby that he finally got to enjoy first comfortable evening of the season.
It was very
little stress for you tonight.
Yeah. Now I have to say, I'm a little bit of a weirdo purist, and so everything that happened after halftime, we don't have to speak about ever again. That third quarter was an abomination, and the fourth quarter happened, and we all learned lessons, and we move on. But Marc, this team finally got off to a good start, man. They brought the juice tonight. I think. Can you tell me? Your sources say, did they listen to our post-game show after what happened against Houston the other night?
I don't think they listened to the post-game show. I don't think any of the audio was spliced into any film sessions. Nobody has whispered that to me here. But there's no question they didn't like a lot of things in that Houston game, and they responded starting with 77. He was fantastic tonight, approached the game with a lot of first quarter verve. And, look, Orlando is this is a limited team without Banchero. Even in the best of circumstances, they're not offensively dynamic. And without Banchero, who was here, Banchero is still with the team, but obviously can't play for at least a month, realistically longer. And this was, the Mavs, Luka got it going and it got everybody else going. And I think also the Mavs had a decided size advantage that they capitalized on tonight. So, yeah, you don't even need to bust out the Corel illustrator. This one, the suspense was over quick.
So you've covered this guy for a very long time, talking about Klay Thompson. First few games of the season, he was scoring a bunch. He was getting a lot of good looks. They were all going in. Last couple games, he's been a little quiet. Now, obviously, whenever you're primarily a three-point shooter, some days you're going to be hot, some days you're going to be a little cold. But J-Kid has talked about, and he talked about it again more tonight, the need, or the desire at least, to get him more touches early in games. And tonight in the first quarter, I don't even know if he touched the ball a single time. He did get going a little bit in the second quarter once he checked back in. In your experience covering Klay, is he a guy that's going to be like, give me the effing ball, or is he just going to kind of let everything happen and sort of insert himself in the game whenever he can and when the time is right?
Well, I think that because starts had been such an issue, because this team had not started well even once this season, and because Luka in particular, that was really his kind of first half explosion of the season. So I think those quests for the Mavericks kind of took precedence. I mean, Klay has now had a few games where his shot is not falling. Of course, he started out really well from the three-point line, and he's not known for fast starts. So I don't think there's any sense of grave concern, because I think the things that were troubling the Mavs coming into tonight, they pretty much addressed those. But yes, ideally, I think you would like Klay getting early touches and early looks, and his shot. I think his shot making is going to be put under the microscope all season long, because he is the marquee newcomer here. and because getting more shooting was such an emphasis. But, again, I think there were other aims tonight that were deemed higher up the priority list, and the Mavericks addressed those.
Luka Doncic, of course, dominating in that first half with 25 first-half points, setting the tone for this team, getting off to a really good start, building on the fourth quarter that he had against the Rockets, where they weren't able to overcome that 23-point deficit, but he was able to really get going and showing off the shooting touch that we're accustomed to seeing. Shout out to CM33, who says that Marc Stein is giving Fonzie like look tonight.
Hey,
you big Happy Days fan?
I actually have a story about that if you guys want to hear.
Yeah,
please,
dude, let's go. Let's go.
You guys are old. First of all, this is a blazer, so this has nothing to. I don't know what this has to do with Fonzie. This is not a black leather jacket, and I'm not wearing a white T-shirt. But first of all, props to you. I didn't realize Happy Days would be in your age wheelhouse, so props to you for the reference.
Nick at Night, baby. Nick at
that's
Night.
right.
Nick
TV
at Night.
Land.
Let's go.
Oh my God, I grew up watching the Flip Wilson show, Mark. I know all about old TV.
I mean, that's before my time. But I was so lucky in grade school, growing up in Southern California, we actually got to go to a live airing in Hollywood of Happy Days and Laverne and Shirley.
Oh, let's go. Two classics.
Yeah, which was like to be in a live audience for those was that will stay with me forever. So again, quite a reference from you. You caught me off guard with that one. I wasn't expecting that.
Hey, Mark, if they were to remake Happy Days and do like a Netflix kind of, turn it into like a sort of like a dark film, like there's some sort of like undercurrent in Happy Landville, like everything is not quite what it seems. Who do you think should play Fonzie?
Wait, what?
Like turning it into like a dark comedy.
Yeah, I mean, Happy Days being turned into a dark comedy.
If you up with Happy Days, that like you can't even imagine. There is no such thing as another Fonzie.
Tuesday, Friday, Happy Days.
Saturday,
Monday, do it all week for you. These days are all. Okay, yeah.
See Bobby Bucks in person. You can go to Milwaukee and see the Fonzie statue, not far from where the Bucks play.
Oh, well. Speaking of the Bucks, Mark, you wrote for your Substack today. You wrote, and this is like, I mean, the Mavs won by 80 tonight. Let's not mince words here.
This is a Mavs show, damn it.
I know
like,
this. I know this is a Mavs show. But no, this is important. This is important. This is important.
I actually thought by now we would have gotten into Luka's third tech. Is that a cause for concern?
Yes.
That he's
yes.
That he's on 41. That he's on a 41 tech pace, which would tie the league record held by Rasheed Wallace for a single season.
Yeah, and he's had 3 techs in his last 4 games, so he's making light work of these right now. But the thing you wrote for your Substack today or this weekend was about other teams struggling. Like Milwaukee is 1-5; they lost last night in a game that they easily could have and maybe should have won. But then a team in the West, Denver, they have some wins this season that came in overtime against teams that are not going to be in the playoffs. So like I bring that up to try and ask you to put in perspective, like the Mavs lost that game against Houston. They probably shouldn't have lost that game. It hasn't always looked super pretty, but there are other teams that are considered to be, at or at least near their level, within the hierarchy of the league that are really, really struggling out of the gates. And so like, should their struggles give Mavs fans a little bit of peace of mind and say, hey, maybe it's better than we think? Or, do the Mavs still have a lot of work to do?
Well, I think it's both. I mean, the Mavs definitely still have a lot of work to do. I mean, the way OKC's playing, I mean, they are setting such a standard in the West that, I mean, again, it's way too early for declarations of any kind. And I know we haven't been in studio together for a bit here. We won't be in studio together, till like next Sunday after the Denver game, right?
Hey,
I miss
now.
you.
Hey, now. Hey,
Come back.
But
please.
Come back.
That was my way of saying I haven't been in the same room with you guys here, but I'm guessing you're keeping pretty close tabs on the Thunder and what they're doing. I mean, they are playing ridiculously good ball. So that was just one of the issues in Denver. Okay, the Nuggets are 3-3, but they had to win a couple overtime games against Eastern Conference stragglers just to get on the board. They They beat an 0-6 Utah team last night. But one of the reasons why the Nuggets have been lumped into this conversation with the Bucks in terms of teams with high aspirations that have struggled early, because in this West, you don't want to get too far behind because it is such a deep conference. But look, I mean, to this point, I mean, the Mavs are 4-2. The Houston loss was certainly disappointing. That to me is the foremost disappointment. The manner of the Phoenix loss, yes, I guess you can classify that as a disappointment, but going to Phoenix and losing to the Suns in their home opener, I know that was a rest advantage game for Dallas because the Suns were playing the second half of a back-to-back and the Mavs had the night off before, but I don't know that we would put that one in the disappointment category. I mean, the Houston game was, quote, bad, but is 4-2 bad right now?
I'll take 4-2.
5-2, 4-2, 5-2, whatever it is.
Yeah, I will happily take 4-2. Mark, I don't know if you can hear it, but there are some primal screams. Oh, there's people in Mavs. They're turned up. They're probably watching the stream.
Oh, they turned it up.
Are they watching the show?
I don't know.
If that was you screaming outside, comment in the chat. Let us know.
Let us know you're okay, number one, because that didn't sound like anything that was okay at all.
That sounded horrifying.
It sounded really horrible. I thought I was going to have to lock myself in this building for a little while after the show was over with, based on what was happening outside, because I was not feeling it. And anyway, I'm going to leave that where it is. Good thing you're safe at the AAC, Mark, because what was happening outside of this building? No.
So was it last week that we had the fire trucks and now they're screaming outside the studio?
Yes.
It's eventful down here.
And it's not Halloween either, so I don't know what the hell's going on.
It's eventful down here.
Maybe they're worried about what's about to happen on Tuesday. But anyway, other than that, we know what's about to happen tomorrow night, right?
Showdown with the old friend.
Rick Carlisle's coming to town. Any quick thoughts on Rick Carlisle coming into town with his high-flying Indiana Pacers that love to score 150 bazillion points tonight?
I mean, certainly the pace will be different. But even tonight, there was this reunion feel because, Jamal Mosley, the Magic coach, is held in such high regard by so many people who are still here in Dallas. I mean, Dirk Nowitzki is incredibly close to Jamal Mosley, and Luka Doncic, the love he has for Jamal Mosley, like you could really see it pregame. Luka was in the middle of his pregame warm-up routine, and Mosley came back out to the court, which is something you don't typically see a head coach do 45-ish minutes before tip-off. But, they met up for a very warm embrace, and, Luka had his whole agent team here today. Bill Duffy, his agent, is in town, as well as a couple other members of Team Luka, Kike Villalobos from Spain, and David Mondres, another agent who works with Bill. So, Luka had a lot of people close to him that there were a lot of hugs and handshakes pregame. And I think, that definitely helped Luka lock in because he always wants to play well against Jamal Mosley teams, and he knows that the Magic are going to be super physical with him because he knows that Mosley's going to be on his guys. And so, the Rick Carlisle reunion now, less than 24 hours later, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how everybody bounces back. Actually, I guess it's a little bit more than 24 hours if I do my math right, because that game is starting so late. But yeah, I mean, Indiana presents a lot of challenges, but the Pacers are going through their own size crisis. I mean, the injuries in this early season have been staggering. It just will not stop. We had another one tonight with the Magic losing Wendell Carter Jr. But, Indiana has lost both James Wiseman and Isaiah Jackson to season-ending Achilles tears. So that certainly has made the Pacers vulnerable up front in terms of size. And you saw tonight the Mavericks big men, Gafford and Lively, both really capitalize on Orlando's size situation right now. No Banchero. Carter only played 8-9 minutes before he left the game with an injury. Goga Bitadze, he's a good rim protector. That was a big miss for Orlando as well tonight that really it's not talked about nearly as much as the Banchero injury. and both Gafford with a tremendous game, Lively off the bench. The two of them really took advantage of that vulnerability in Orlando's lineup. And let's see now if they can do the same thing against Indiana, which is two big men down. Now, maybe the Pacers will make some sort of signing in the front court before by tip-off tomorrow. I know the Pacers are looking around, exploring their options with what they might do in the front court, but that'll be something to keep an eye on tomorrow night for sure.
Well, Mark, as always, we appreciate your insights here on the Dallas Mavs post-game show. It should be a fun night tomorrow.
Sorry for the air, guys. I don't know what, you know.
No, you look great.
Good. Come on.
You look
Come
great.
on.
I just wanted to rush here and get on time and try to follow Cato with a suitable performance here.
Mark, who's your favorite Tim of all time?
My favorite Tim of all time. Duncan would be high on the list.
This is a MAVS show, dude. Come on.
Yeah, like, come on, man. You got to read the room here.
Might be a MAVS show, but I was honored to cover Tim Duncan for his whole career, and
sorry, you're still sorry.
This is the reality.
Thank you, Mark.
What other nominees? I mean, you guys are putting me on the spot here.
Well, so the question I gave Cato before he logged off was Tim Curry, Tim Meadows, Tim Robbins. And I think he only knew who Tim Robbins was out of that group, which is...
Unfortunately, I think I'm in the same boat.
Oh, my God.
Tim Robbins...
Let's just make it a trifecta, because I don't know who any of them dudes are.
God.
Yeah, I don't know who any of them dudes are.
Is Tim Robbins the actor who played in Bull Durham?
Oh, is that... No, wait. Oh, Shawshank Redemption guy. Oh, that's right. That's his whole name? Oh.
Mean Girls.
All right.
Tim Meadows is the principal in Mean Girls. I mean, he's been in so many other things, but like...
Oh, is that the black guy? Oh, that's his name? Tim Meadows' name? I can say that. Y'all can't say that, but I can say that. I didn't realize that was his
I think
name.
he has plenty of defining features.
Oh, now I feel terrible for not knowing who two of these Tims are, because
Tim Curry, and then Tim Curry was in the Rocky Horror Picture Show, was also, of course, the iconic voice of Nigel Thornberry. And he was
the Wild Thornberries.
I'm just warning you guys right now. My pop culture knowledge will always disappoint you. So, like, if you're going to storm off set because I don't know a couple names, that's going to be like a daily occurrence on this show.
I just can't believe it. I'm glad at least
if you had shown me
their
their pictures and stuff, I'm like, okay, I know who they are, but I didn't realize that's what their names were.
Oh my God!
But Tim Robbins, I should have known that because Shawshank Redemption, I should have known that. That's my bad. That's my fault. Mark, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate your insights.
Tim Cato is their favorite Tim?
No,
of course not.
He might be like top 10.
At 10, probably.
So, the MAVS show, I'm not allowed to go with Tim Duncan.
Not Tim. No, Tim Duncan is ineligible. I'm sorry. In fact, I don't even know if he's really named Tim. He might be like he's not allowed to be on the list.
Okay.
It's Tim Duncan, dude.
We're doing a lot.
You know how many times they won the championship and the Mavs didn't?
I know, but you just accuse him of not having his real name be Tim. What are we doing here?
I love Tim Hardaway Sr. when he was playing, man. I mean, I got skills. They're
multiplying.
Run TMC, Tim Hardaway Sr. He's got to be in the convo.
That Tim's kind of sullied the reputation. Anyway, Mark, go get some sleep. Okay, we'll talk to you tomorrow on the postgame show. All right.
I'll try to come up with some better names next time.
Thank you.
Please don't be disappointed with my pop culture knowledge, man.
Oh, I won't be. I promise. Sorry, that was out of character for me.
No, it wasn't.
I overreacted.
Relax.
My bad.
No, be you, man. Be you. We want you to be you.
Bye, Mark.
Bye, Mark.
All right, it's our National NBA Insider, Marc. Now, you can also catch him on the All NBA podcast weekly with Adam Mares and Tim Legler as well.
Kevin, tomorrow night, the Mavs play a basketball game at 8:45 p.m., which really means tip-off is close to 9, and that is one day after we do the dumbest thing in the world, turning our clocks back an hour. So tomorrow night, really tip-off, our body clocks are going to be at darn near 10 p.m. Now, that applies also to the players on the team. They have world-class nutritionists and doctors taking care of them. You and I are just going through it.
Completely.
We're doing our best.
Hey, we can't complain. Now, let's not complain.
No, I'm not complaining. I would never complain. But what I'm saying is we're doing our best. Everyone out there is doing their best, and we're going to do our best together tomorrow night because we got another show coming tomorrow night, and I will caffeinate myself to the ends of the earth if it means being up and at 'em, ready to talk Mavs Pacers at approximately 8 p.m.
You are our adrenaline fuel, so we are going to be depending on you to keep us up all night long. Yes, the Mavericks tip off at 8:45 p.m. tomorrow night when they welcome in Rick Carlisle and the Indiana Pacers. Mavericks looking for their second straight win after they crush the Orlando Magic tonight, 108-85. Luka Doncic, the star on this night, 25 first-half points, powers this team to their 4th win of the season. Now 3-1 at the American Airlines Center as they continue their 5-game homestand. Really appreciate all of you joining us here on the DLS Mavs postgame show. Please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to us here at DLS Sports. That's the quickest way you can help us grow here. And also to the podcast. Subscribe to the podcast, the DLS Mavs show, wherever you get your podcast for free. Give it a 5-star rating. Write a review for it while you're there. Again, wherever you get your podcast for free. For Tim Cato and Marc Stein, that's our guy, Bobby Corella. I'm Kevin Gray. Mavericks crush the Mavericks. The Mavericks crush the Mavericks.
They have beaten themselves already this season, but they didn't do it tonight. Let's give them some credit, Kevin.
Mavericks win 108-1. Bye. We'll see you tomorrow at 8:45. I don't know.
We all silly like the mayor.